Hello.
Maybe at the end if we have time. It's kind of long.
I'm excited for the new chapter.
Computers can do that?
Alright, chapter 7's out.
Heard you were pretty good at yelling.
Very good.
My dad's good.
Chlorophyll? More like borophyll.
I actually was wondering if you were
What's
gonna
that
have
Chlorophyll?
Right.
More like borophyll.
Billy
I
Mack.
thought about it the other day, wondering if you were gonna put that as one of the
More like borophyll.
That's really funny.
Okay, we're talking about photosynthesis. Probably the most important thing in biology.
Really?
Really?
Yeah?
Photosynthesis.
I don't believe that.
Photosynthesis.
When you look at this plant, it looks green. Does it not?
Yes.
I guess, yeah.
And kind of whitish.
Or this one.
It's not.
Kind of brown.
Needs to be watered.
Your
What are these
experiment worked.
pictures? Very green.
Green.
Now what you are actually seeing when you see the green in a plant is the green pigment chlorophyll. And it makes plants green, and we'll learn why. And it does a process, it helps the plant do a process called photosynthesis. And all life is based on photosynthesis. All living things use as a food source the products of photosynthesis. Now here are three different major groups of organisms that can do photosynthesis. The first one on the left is called a cyanobacteria. Cyanobacteria are tiny little simple prokaryotic cells. And I don't know how well you can see, but do you see the little green line in between two dark lines? That's a single cell. And they group together in long strands, also called filaments, and they can do photosynthesis. Very simple cells, simplest of all, that can do photosynthesis.
Wait, did you say that all living things are like have
Because we eat plants.
No, all living things use the products of photosynthesis for food.
Gotcha, okay.
Which, you know, if you're an animal, you get your food from plants. You either eat plants or you eat animals that eat plants. Or
Okay.
you eat animals that eat animals that eat plants.
Or animals that eat animals that eat animals that eat
You got it!
plants. Or you can just eat salad.
You just eat plants.
Salad.
This is algae. Algae is another large group of organisms that can do photosynthesis. This is kelp. It's a real big algae that grows in the ocean. And of course, land plants can do photosynthesis. But actually, when you think about what makes the oxygen in the air, most of you think plants, but algae make most of it. About 75% is made by the algae, not land plants.
Really? Yeah.
And that is because the oceans
the
are so
water?
much bigger than the land.
Yeah.
There's more ocean than there is land. So, now, looking up close here, page 117, we see a leaf. That is a leaf. Leaf is how you say that word. Leaf, not leaf. Leaf.
What's the
Wait, how? Do some people
Leaf.
call it leaf?
Now, if you take a little square out of a leaf and you make it much bigger, it looks like this.
Much bigger.
Now, the top portion, we have to be very familiar. This is a big page. You have to really understand this if you're going to get to tomorrow or Monday's stuff. This is very important to understand all these words, so I'm going to explain them to you. The top part of a leaf is called the cuticle. The cuticle is the waxy covering that covers a leaf. And if you ever have touched a leaf before, which I guess you probably have, it has a waterproof wax layer. It's not actually green. They've colored it green here, but it's not really green. It's clear. It's a very thin, microscopic, clear coat. Underneath that, you have, and by the way, it's also on the top and the bottom of the leaf. And then you have the epidermal cells, this white layer of cells here, that is just for protection. And there's an epidermis on the top and on the bottom there. Now, there are holes, usually in the lower epidermis. called stoma. A stoma is a single hole that acts kind of like a mouth.
Like you put a stone in your neck to be smoked off?
I guess so. I don't know. And it can open up. A stoma can open up and suck in some air and then close. And those little stomata is plural, the stomata are constantly opening and closing to let in a little bit of air. And what is it that the plant needs from the air? The plant needs the carbon dioxide. It doesn't really need the oxygen very much. It produces a lot of oxygen, and most of it is given off as a waste product. So it's opening those stomata to let carbon dioxide in so it can do some photosynthesis.
So by polluting, we're helping plants?
By what?
Polluting, we're helping plants? Burning fossil fuels?
Yeah, if you, they are growing a little bit faster because of the extra CO2 that's out there, but not fast enough to take up all the extra CO2. Now, the CO2 goes into the plant, and at the same time, some waste oxygen leaks out, which is fine for the plant. But the stoma can't stay open for very long, because another thing they're not showing here is water leaks out of the leaf when the stoma is open. And the reason why there are waxy, waterproof cuticle on the top and bottom is to keep water from leaking out of the plant.
Is that what dew is?
No.
No. Oh.
So that the plant doesn't dry up. The stoma will have to close. And then they just open at certain times and close.
Would water come out from the top?
Hello, I'm Mr. Willis. Do what now?
Are there stomas on the top?
There usually are not stomas on the top. Can you guess why?
Because the sun shines on the top.
The sun shines on the top, and if they open on the top, you would really lose a lot of water. So they open on the bottom, you don't lose as much water.
Can I put my contact back in?
Yes, go put your contact back.
What if the leaf flips over?
It's like the storm on. Then Spanish last chance.
Then it would lose more, but it
Is
has.
that why?
Leaves are usually made where they don't flip over too easily. Watch. Boop. Goes back. Boop.
Is that why they're like sometimes different colors? Or?
Yes, usually they're lighter color on the bottom than on the top. And the reason why is because of these cells. These cells are called mesophyll cells, and they're the cells we're interested in. These cells contain a lot of chloroplasts. This large structure here is called a chloroplast. And these cells contain a bunch of them. And that's where the green color comes in. The chloroplasts have chlorophyll, which is a green pigment inside them. And so, if you look, the cells are very crowded here on the top. They're side by side. They're called palisade mesophyll cells. And so the top of a leaf is usually dark green because of all the chloroplasts that are in these cells. And on the bottom of the leaf, the mesophyll cells are kind of scattered around, so there aren't as many of them in space, and it appears a little bit lighter green. Somebody have a question?
You answered it.
Okay. So there are little spaces here so that the carbon dioxide that comes in can float around and get up to these cells. But these are the cells that actually do the photosynthesis. None of the other cells do. It's the mesophyll cells. So let's look up close. Oh, and by the way, there's a leaf vein. And the leaf vein brings water in from the roots.
It's kind of cool looking.
And takes sugars
Don't we
out
see this?
from the leaves.
Don't
Yeah, you can see the veins if you look at the top of a leaf, the little lines there.
That's pretty.
Those are the veins. And they're just like veins in your body. They move water and sugar.
I
And
have a question.
yes.
You know when you oh wait, that was a stupid question.
Okay. Not really, because you never really asked it. So it
In
wasn't
my
stupid.
mind, it was
Ah.
stupid.
Now let's take a close look at one of these chloroplasts. What I'm talking about is the little green dot. If you look at these cells, you can see. Can you see the green dots in there? The little green dots?
Yes.
Let's look up close at one little green dot, shall we?
Yes.
Alright.
Bow! There it is. Real big. We've made it bigger. And a green dot is a chloroplast. And a chloroplast, if you look at it up close, it consists of a double membrane structure. What clue does that give you if it's a double membrane?
Invaginization. No.
Yes, that it was taken in from outside. It was once free living on its own at one time, which is true. This used to be like a free living prokaryote. Anyway, it's a double membrane, and then inside the double membrane is a space called the stroma, not to be confused with stoma, which some students will do. The stroma is the space inside the chloroplast that's filled with a sugary fluid. But then if we look further inside, we see little things that look like coins, stacks of coins. And looking up close at them, they're actually made of membrane, which is phospholipid bilayer, just like we studied membranes last chapter. These membranes are called thylakoid membranes. And it's on the thylakoid membranes that you'll find the chlorophyll. That's where the chlorophyll is located, on these membranes. Are y'all with me?
Is there anything inside?
Inside is just an empty space called the thylakoid space. But what we're going to study Monday is what's inside there.
Okay.
And also what's on the membrane. There's a bunch of proteins on this membrane.
So we're going to go inside the thylakoid space?
We're going to go inside the thylakoid space and look at this membrane up close.
Intense.
You want to do it just for a second, just to see?
Yes. Oh.
Whoa.
Wow.
That's inside the thylakoid space, and that's on the membrane.
Thylakoid space is not
Do
very.
we have to label?
Can you tell that's a membrane?
Yeah, it's got the
Phospholipids.
bilayer.
Uh-huh.
Phospholipid bilayer. That's not very interesting thylakoid space.
It's not very interesting.
It's all empty.
No, it's got hydrogen.
There's hydrogen in there, but hydrogen's everywhere.
Okay. Well, you just wait.
Oh wait, yeah. I'll wait with bated breath.
Now, so this is a single thylakoid membrane. Many of them stack up on top of one another. Stacks and stacks of membranous sacs.
Hey, look at
I will not eat green eggs and ham. And we call a stack of these thylakoids a granum. A granum is a stack of thylakoids. Plural is grana. Grana is many. Granum.
I have a question.
Yes.
In the chloroplast, the other one that you've gone over,
In
like
the
the one that it shows, I don't know, it's not the animation.
Here?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What is the stoma? It's just like pointing to.
The stroma is is this empty space right here. It looks empty inside within the chloroplast, but it actually contains fluid and sugars. That's where the sugars are put together. The glucose is made in this space right here. The stroma.
Okay.
Okay. Let's look at how a chloroplast forms. This is one of the worst videos I have.
Really
Awesome.
worse than the one we saw.
And it's pretty lame.
Is it?
I'm excited, Coach.
I'm not sure why I have this one up here. It's only a few.
A proplastid develops into a chloroplast. The process begins with an infolding of the inner membrane of the proplastid. The infolding continues, and the membrane elaborates to form the thylakoid system of the mature chloroplast.
Nah,
What do you have to do with label?
none of that really was you needed to know.
Not that.
Thought it was kind of cool. I didn't know that's how it formed. That's how it formed. And by the way, this is an actual electron microscope picture of this. This is how they draw it for us, very nice and neat. This is how it actually looks under an electron microscope. So, okay. So you need to know all that stuff. Page 118
But it's 118.
shows these graphs here. On the x-axis is the wavelength. Remember, the x-axis is what the scientists can control. And the scientists can shine with different wavelengths of light at a plant. And you first need to know a little something about light. when I turn the lights on in this room and you look up at these fluorescent lights, what color do they look like?
White.
They're white. Well, white light is actually a combination of all the different colors of the rainbow. Did y'all know that? Have y'all learned that in physical science maybe?
Yes.
Those colors
I'm
are
doing something good.
red, orange,
Roy G.
yellow, green, blue, indigo, and violet. Roy G. Biv.
I remember learning that in like
What if your name was actually Roy G. Biv? I've always wondered if there was a guy named that.
There's gotta be.
I was thinking about naming one of my kids Roy G. Biv Willis.
You thought about
That
I
was-
think he wouldn't know why he was named that until he took the class. And then he would be like, whoa.
That's my name.
Or be like, oh, crap.
Oh, gosh, Dad.
He'd probably be gay because his name after a rainbow.
You might consider other names.
Sounds great. Yay.
So let's look. If we shine, if we break, you can use a triangular piece of glass to break up the white light. It's called a prism. And you can break up the light into all the wavelengths. And if we shine these wavelengths on a plant, in actuality, a plant actually has 3 different pigments that can absorb sunlight. One is called chlorophyll A, one is called chlorophyll B, and one is called carotenoids,
Like carrots.
like carrots have.
Oh,
Carotenoids are found in carrots.
Can anybody do that?
You'd have to have the right equipment.
Could you just take a prism and shine light?
Yes, and then you have something that could measure how much of it was absorbed. That would be harder to come by.
A little bit.
So you
To
couldn't.
make a graph like this.
So you couldn't just see if you place that light on a plant, you couldn't just see if it the 3 different colors.
No, you wouldn't see 3 different colors. What these are pigments down inside the leaf on those thylakoid membranes. And the different pigments absorb light differently. Let's talk about carotenoids first, because that's the easiest one to see up here, this gold line. Carotenoids absorb blue light very well, and violet, and a little bit of green. So a carotenoid would absorb all this light, and this color of light would bounce off of it. So carotenoids appear to the eye to be kind of orange, because all the blue light is absorbed and all this light is left, and all this light together forms orange. What's in about the middle?
Oh, and chlorophyll A and B are green because it only.
So why are plants green? Well, plants have mostly chlorophyll, some carotenoids, but mostly chlorophyll. And you can see chlorophyll, A and B, absorb blue pretty well. And absorb red, okay, and orange really well. What they don't absorb is green. So white light hits the plant, the blue and the red are absorbed, the green bounces back off the leaf and into your eye. That's why plants are green.
Whoa. Coach,
Then how do they get like blue flowers?
Well, the flowers don't have any chlorophyll in them like these right here. So they have other pigments that don't absorb blue. So they're different.
Okay.
But the green leaves, that's why the leaves are green, because the green bounces off and comes to your eye and everything else is absorbed.
Coach, you ever think we all see different colors
So
from the
weird.
same thing?
Yeah, I always think that all the time.
Yeah, that's not exactly true though, because the eye has been studied and
Like
we don't see different colors. We pretty much all see the
When
same.
my cousin is like colorblind, they have
Colorblind people see them differently. Mhm.
That makes sense.
And we study colorblindness later when we do genetic disorders.
See, but you never really know if you're colorblind because, like, it might look like something to you. and
Yeah, you wouldn't know if you never talked to anyone else.
Yeah, you call that blue, but you can't really describe like
Yeah.
what blue looks like.
It was thought that once all people were colorblind.
Huh.
And color vision came as a mutation, and now most people have it. But colorblind people can spot many different shades of brown, khaki, and black different shades, they can see those shades better than a person who sees color. So probably all of the cavemen and before them were all colorblind, because when you're in the woods, you can see camouflaged animals better if you're colorblind. But we lost that gene with a mutation when we kind of didn't need to be hunting so much and became farmers. Just a little tidbit of info. Now, this is the action spectrum for photosynthesis over here. If you put information from this graph together, plants use mostly blue light and mostly orangish red light and don't use very much of the green. And so, you see this kind of experiment in science fair all the time. Some kid shines a blue light on a plant, it grows pretty good, and a red light on a plant, it grows pretty good, and a green light on a plant, it doesn't grow at all. That's what this graph is showing you, the actual rate of photosynthesis for all the different colors.
So it's better to have like blue light from the sun on a plant?
Well, the white light from the sun includes all of these.
Oh.
So you're good to go as long as you have sunlight.
True that.
So actually, when you draw a sign, it's white instead of blue.
Yeah, if you look at the sun, it'll be white. Now, if you have the right filters, it'll turn out yellow because there's a little more yellow light shining from the sun than the other colors. So it is yellow if you have the right filters. Now, here is the photosynthesis equation. And you need to know this equation. This is of huge importance to you in this class. Okay? Go ahead and write it down right now. This 6 carbon dioxide combines with 6 water molecules through sunlight. Now, where does the carbon dioxide a plant gets come from?
The air around it.
The air. This air has a small percentage of carbon dioxide. Where does the water a plant gets come from?
The roots.
Down in the ground. The ground is wet. The plant shoves roots down into the ground and pulls the water up. Sunlight shines on the plant, and the plant can make the carbon dioxide and the water into sugar. C6H12O6. That's glucose. That's this molecule.
Can I go to the restroom?
Yes.
Go Rex.
You can go to the restroom, but you're going to miss the Ninja Throwing Star! Sorry.
His face was it.
C6H12O6 is glucose. Can y'all memorize that?
C6H6O6?
That's this. That's simple sugar. That's what photosynthesis yields. That's the basis of all food. Did you eat today? You ate some of this, or molecules of this that have been put together to make larger molecules, or taken apart to make proteins, or taken apart to make fats, whatever. This is the basis of all those organic molecules we studied. It starts with this. All the organic molecules, the sugars, the carbohydrates, the proteins, the lipids, the nucleic acids, are all made from this to start with. And the enzymes in the cells have a way of breaking this apart and shaping it a different way to make every molecule. You got to start somewhere. You start with this. And then oxygen is given off as a waste product. So it's, if you think about it in words, carbon dioxide and water come together with sunlight to make glucose and oxygen as a waste product. That's photosynthesis. Live it, learn it, love it.
So could I combine some CO2 over here and put some oxygen over and some water over here and like put it out in the sunlight? If I make some glucose and oxygen?
If you had some machine that could do that,
yeah.
then you would not have to worry about money anymore, and the world would not have to worry about starvation, because you have a way of doing this without using plants.
Hey.
That's Nobel Prize stuff there.
There we go.
Work on that. That's your homework assignment.
Figured out
Huh?
tonight.
Yeah, if you could do this without plants, you could make food without plants. And oxygen without plants. Some factory that could do it, that'd be great. Maybe they'll come up with that one day. For now, we got to use plants. And it's a very complicated process. Monday and Tuesday, we learn how this reaction happens. It happens in a number of steps, about 30 different steps.
Okay.
And that's what we learn. Next.
And we're gonna have to memorize.
So, carbon dioxide and water use sunlight to make sugar and oxygen. Throw in 3 6s. 2, 6, 6, 6.
6. The number.
Scary. A little bit of evidence that shows the devil and the.
No, the worst number ever is 106. 106.
But I'm not worried about it because I have Ninja Throwing Star. Okay, everybody, do me a favor. Close your books. Close your books. Close your book. You're not closing your book. Close your notebook and get out a blank sheet of paper. Close them up.
Making it difficult.
Ah, no! 6.
Ah! Psst. You got your sheet of paper?
No.
Could it be a craft sheet of paper?
Write the photosynthesis equation from memory.
I didn't look
You
at
are-
it.
Life is tough.
But I didn't actually look at it.
Well, that was one of the problems.
Ugh.
Put your name on the top of it. Put it in the box. If you get it right, I'll give you 10 bonus points on that quiz.
But I wasn't here for half that whole thing.
Oh man,
Shouldn't have gone.
I need that to be
life is tough.
I forgot those two. Okay, now I can redeem myself.
Put it in the box.
This is what I thought
Yeah,
you
I'm just checking.
couldn't go and get any sugar. You go into something like this. I totally redeem yourself.
Guess what I thought?
What do you have? Can we get like 5 points?
I might give you partial credit. Do your best.
Because I know part.
Do your
part
best.
I looked at.
I just explained it for 5 minutes.
Yeah, well.
It's okay. It's okay. Just do your best.
No, I'm so sorry.
That's how you're that's
Yeah, just go over it.
I got
Are you home viewers doing this exercise? Probably not.
Who are you talking to?
The home viewers. But careful. Okay. Now you're gonna walk through
I
it.
would trip over it.
Somebody did that one now.
Okay, I don't know these other ones.
I'm terrible at
I think I got half of it right.
We're gonna turn back and look.
How far can you throw your Ninja Throwing Star?
See, this
No.
guy right here.
I've never gone for
What was
distance.
Look, maybe it's
Oh!
Wait, do it again, because Anna walked in front.
I don't know if I can do it again.
Oh no, I got confidence. Coach.
I have it.
Oh, one more time, Coach. One more time.
Way to get in the
Right
way.
here is yellow.
What about that plant?
It's yellow, not green.
Yeah, not all plants are the same, but go outside after school. Look at one of the leaves on the trees out there. You'll see dark green on the top, light green on the bottom. It's got some green.
Yeah, is it dead?
No, it's not dead.
It's just that type of
Just that type of plant.
Can you give me another
Is it
Yay.
interesting?
Green is real close to yellow on the spectrum.
That is true.
So, yellow will still have some chlorophyll in there.
That's because. Can we open our books back up? Because I really want to, and I'm going
Here it is, right here.
I totally just dominated that.
What if you like
Okay.
all really close to the
6 CO2 plus 6 H2O, carbon dioxide. You got to think about it. What's the plant need? It needs water. You got to water your freaking plant. Carbon dioxide. That's the stuff in the air that we breathe out. And you ever heard plants need that? So, carbon dioxide and water. A couple of 6s in front. With sunlight. You know plants need sunlight. You can figure this out while you're going if you just think about it. What's it form? It forms, you know plants make oxygen. It releases oxygen. And that's glucose. Now you do have to just memorize C6H12O6. That's glucose. C6H12O6. I mean, it's
Plus from chemistry.
2 6s plus 6 plus 6 is 12.
Yeah, and then it's
Cho. You know, however you want to memorize it.
I
Yes.
did too.
So
It's probably did C6 CO2 plus 6 H2O plus solar energy and then air.
Yes, that'll work. Yeah.
Go.
So we need to know that. Now that will be, listen, that formula will be on your next 5 quizzes.
Nice.
You will have to write that formula.
Nice.
Can we get points for that?
Like as a bonus or like as a...
As maybe as a bonus, maybe as a regular question.
Nice.
Don't sit there. I've had students just never memorize it and they miss it the whole time. It'll also be on essay 7 and 8. You'll have to write it, both 7 and 8 if you get those. It'll also be on the final exam. You'll also see it on the test. And it's one of the essay questions, it's part of one of the essay questions on about 30% of the time of the years on the actual big AP test that you take at the end of the year.
Whoa.
No reason not to take some time now and get that into your brain.
Pretty easy.
That is the equation of life.
And people never learn it.
Think about it. What are 2 important things you have to do right now in life? You have to breathe. The oxygen comes from this. And you have to eat. The food comes from this.
It's pretty important.
Where would you be?
Have water.
Try to go a couple days without eating or breathing.
And
See how well you do.
drink
I have a feeling
Well, the
you might
plant
not
drinks
like
the water. This doesn't have water as a byproduct, but water, you do need water, that's true. So, this equation happens in 2 sets, 2 halves. In page 119, this is the last page you're reading. Tonight you do 7.1 and 7.2. The first set of reactions is called the light reactions. And the light reactions happen in the daytime when the sun is shining.
Oh, bless you.
The light reactions are what produces the oxygen. The second set of reactions is called the Calvin cycle, and that produces the sugars. The Calvin cycle doesn't need light. So we got one set of reactions that we're going to do Monday. We got the second set of reactions that we're going to do Tuesday. They're both very complicated. If you get the essay for this chapter, you got to tell me the whole thing. You know how you got to start that essay if you get it?
Mr. Wills.
That would be nice, but what's another way that you could start the whole photosynthesis essay?
Just write the formula.
Write the equation! Very nice, Shelbster.
Thanks.
Anybody call you Shelbster?
Actually, yes. I have
Really?
had someone call me that before.
I like that.
No one calls me anything. I call you.
We got to come up with a nickname for you, Hannah.
Okay, let's do
That
it.
name after that show.
Shelby Woo.
What about Hannah Montana? No,
No, don't.
Hannah
My
Montana!
dad calls you that.
Okay, that's it.
Woo.
Thanks.
Ninja Light!
You're like, ow.
Turn that off. Did you turn it off?
Oh, I thought you were going to do your whole Willis.
Oh, Willis out.
Now we